Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Totally it's a guide to learner. Here this is Sriparna. Hope all of you are doing great. In my last session we have already discussed the concept of savings, investment, developed economies and developing economies and their differences. So today we are going to explain another new chapter, that is types of economies, and this is part 1 only. So if you have missed my previous session, please go and check my description box and my first comment where the previous session link is already shared. So learner, let's move on the next slide. So in this slide, we can see there are few concepts of this chapter. So that is, first one is the characteristics of developed economies. Second one is characteristics of developing economies. Third one is concept of capitalism. So now move on the main slide and let's start the session, learners. So now move on. We can see some characteristics of developed economies. So you all know that what is developed economies, because we have already discussed the definition of developed economies. So what do you mean by a developed economies? Developed economies is that kind of economy which has relatively high level of economic growth and security. So now we are going to discuss some characteristics of developed economies. The first one is high per capita income and standard of living. So that means in these economies, amount of production is very high. People enjoy higher quality standard of living also. Now going to the next one, that is low incidence of poverty. So there is no or minimum level of poverty because all people live in above the poverty line. So yes, but what do you mean by a poverty line? So poverty line is a minimum amount of money a person needs to fulfill their basic necessities of life like shelter, food, etc. So when those are below the poverty line, they qualify for help from the government help. But in these developed economies, there is absence or minimum presence of government's help because all people live in above the poverty line, so that's why it leads to low incidence of poverty. Now going to the third one, that is fewer inequalities. So fewer inequalities means income of all people is more or less same, so there are minimum or no inequalities. Okay, so now going to the fourth one, that is low growth rate of population and unemployment. So there is no unemployment problem. So that means in such a economy there is a higher level of capital formation and savings, and in this economy uh, there is use of modern and advanced techniques. Okay, uh, because they have a high degree of technical development. Now going to the sixth one, that is better quality of human capital. Better quality of human capital leads to educational level of people. So educational level of people is higher in the developed countries than in the developing countries. So that's why in developed economies there is better quality of human capital. Now going to the next one, high rate of savings and capital formation. So obviously cost of production, so amount of production is very high, so that's why cost of production is low. Amount of profit is higher than earlier, so it leads to increasing savings and investment. So that means they have high rate of savings and capital formation. And now going to the uh, seventh one, that is higher contribution of industrial and service sector. So yes, share of industrial and service sectors are very high, so it leads to available resources are fully utilized also. And now going to the last one, that is sorry exports of largely industrial products and services. So, industrial or service products are going to abroad for selling purposes. So income from abroad is very high because industrial goods are more costlier than the agricultural goods. So now going to the next slide where we can discuss some characteristics of developing economies, that is uh, just opposite to the developed economies. So now going to the first one. The first one is low per capita income and standard of living. So we have already discussed in developed economies high per capita income and standard of living, but in developing economies there is low per capita income and standard of living. Now going to the second one, existence of widespread poverty. So we have already discussed in developed economies there is no or minimum level of poverty, but there is wide level of poverty. Now going to the third one, there is large inequalities, higher growth of population and unemployment also. And now going to the fifth one, developing economies use the traditional and less advanced economies. So they have low degree of technical development, and it leads to poor quality of human capital because educational level depends on the technological development also. So there is no technological development or minimum technological development, it leads to poor quality of human capital. So educational level of people is lower than the developed economies. So now going to the next one, there is low rate of savings and capital formation. Obviously the production amount of production is low, so cost of production is very high. So when cost of production is very high, it leads to low rate of savings and capital formation. So now going to the next one, there is a predominance of agricultural sector. Sorry, there is a predominance of agricultural sector, and in this economy agricultural sector is a source of employment. Okay, so in developing economies share of agricultural sector is very high, so that's why agricultural sector is the primary sector of developing economies. And now going to the last one, there is predominance of primary exports because agricultural products or goods are going to abroad for selling purposes. So income from abroad is very low because primary goods or agricultural goods exports. So now move on the next slide. So here we can see the definition of the capitalism. So we have already discussed economies is of three types on the basis of the nature of the economic system. So today we will explain. So there are three part. The first one is a capitalistic economy, second one is a socialistic economy, and third one is a mixed economy. So today we will explain only the first one, that is the capitalistic economy and or capitalism. Okay, so now going to the next concept. So what do you mean by a capitalistic economy? So capitalistic economy is an economy in which productive resources are owned by private individuals who uses these resources to earn profits, and in which the state intervention is minimum, so that economic activities are mostly unplanned and uncoordinated. So, learner, what do you mean by a capitalistic economy and capitalism? In this definition, we can see productive resources are owned by the private individuals only. Okay. Now, going to the second point, there is no or minimum state intervention. And now going to the third important point, that is economic activities. All economic activities occur in capitalistic economy are mostly unplanned and uncoordinated. I think what is capitalism is clear to everyone, and all economic activities are mostly unplanned and uncoordinated, and it is based on basically free enterprises with minimum interference by the government. So now move on the next slide. So here we can see some features of capitalistic economy. The first one is private property. So it is one of the important characteristics or features of capitalistic economy or capitalism. So productive forces like land, factories, any machineries are owned by the private individuals, and it is mentioned in the definition of the capitalistic economy also. So private property, so what do you mean by a private property? Private property means the individual owners of the productive forces like land, factories, etc, have the right to acquire it, to possess it, sell or use it. Okay, so it means the owners of the productive resources take important decisions, uh, decisions on production related. Okay, so such as what to produce and or how to produce and the amount of saving and investment in the economy. So now going to the second one, that is right of inheritance. Okay, so right of inheritance means the property owned by an individual can be legally passed on to his legal heirs like sons, daughters, etc. So it provides a powerful incentive to people to save and accumulate wealth. So now going to the third one, that is minimum government intervention. Okay, so minimum government intervention. So, what do you mean by a minimum government intervention or interference? So, in a capitalistic economy, there is a least interference by the government in the economic activities and in the working of market forces. Okay, so now going to the fourth one, that is freedom of choices for consumers. So there is freedom of choices for the consumers in the capitalistic economy. So consumers are free to buy and consume goods and services of their choice, because they are free to spend their income on whatever goods and services they prefer to buy. So I think this is clear. So now going to the fifth one, that is the price mechanism. So price mechanism or market mechanism is an essential feature of a capitalistic economy. So it is a process through which prices of goods and services are determined by the market forces of demand and supply, and we have already discussed the price mechanism or market mechanism process in detail. So if you have missed my that session, so please go and check my previous videos. So now move on the next. So sorry, but price mechanism determines how the available productive resources are to be used for the production of the different types of goods and services. Okay, so it plays an important role in organizing production, and it plays a major role in the distribution of goods among different kinds of individuals. So now going to the next one, that is self interest. So self interest, what do you mean by a self interest? Because capitalist economy is characterized by the motivation of self interest. Okay, so each and every individual is guided by the self interest in his economic pursuits. For example, the producer's aims at maximization of profit. So similarly, a labor tries to get the higher wages for his labor services. So self-interest is the most important motivating force in a capitalist economy. Clear? So now going to the seventh. So that is freedom of enterprise and occupation. So freedom of enterprise and occupation is an essential feature of the capitalistic economy. So freedom of enterprise. At first we have to discuss freedom of enterprise. What do you mean by a freedom of enterprise? Freedom of enterprise means the private enterprises are free to use productive resources for the production of a product of their own choices. And now going to the next one, that is freedom of occupation. So freedom of occupation implies that individuals are free to choose an occupation of their choice in accordance with their education, their talent, their ability, their efficiency. So they can move from one job to another, or from move one place to another place in search of better opportunities. Okay, so now going to the last one, that is competition. Okay, so a capitalist economy is characterized by the existence of competition. So competition means rivalry between the participants in the market. In a capitalistic economy, there exists a high degree of competition, both in the product market and factor market. In the product market, producers compete with each other in order to sell goods and services. Similarly, the factor market, the resource owners compete with each other in order to sell their factor services, and it ensures the goods and services are produced at the lowest possible cost of production. Similarly, competition in the factor market, such as labor market, ensures that the factor services like labor give their best performance. Otherwise, they would be competed out from the market. So I think the features of capitalist economy is clear to everyone. So now move on the next slide, where we can discuss the some merits of capitalistic economy. So the first one is spirit of enterprise. So the force of profit motive has infused the spirit of enterprise and risk taking in the individual. So desire to earn profits has encouraged to learn new abilities, new techniques, etc. So producers are self motivated to bring improvement in the production activities in order to earn profits and compete with other producers, because in a capitalist economy competition plays a major role. Okay, so now going to the next one, that is incentive for technological progress. So, competition has encouraged producers to invent new and improved techniques of production and new improved products. So, that's why it is an incentive for technological progress. So, now going to the third one, that is efficient use of resources. In a capitalistic economy, efficient individuals are rewarded and inefficient ones are penalized. So producers are under constant pressure to maximize efficiency of resources, to keep the cost to minimum in order to earn high profits. So similarly, the workers work most efficiently in order to earn the higher incomes. Okay. So now move on the next one, that is incentive for capital formation. So, in a capitalistic economy, the desire to earn more profits provides motive for higher investment. So, higher level of saving and investment leads to higher income and a higher rate of economic growth. So, now going to the fifth one, that is new consumer goods. So the capitalistic economy has brought in a flood of new products, because the desire to earn more profit has motivated the producers to produce new products, new variety of products. So competition has also encouraged them to improve the quality of the old products. Going to the sixth one, that is flexibility and adaptability. So the most important feature of the capitalistic economy is that it possesses a high degree of or high level of flexibility and adaptability, and it has adapted itself to changed conditions and environment. So it has shown its flexibility by adapting itself to large scale production, new techniques of production, and increased regulations by the government. So now going to the seventh one, that is expansion of the international trade. So the capitalist economic system advocates the free trade between countries. So that's why the in the view of this philosophy, international trade, global economic interactions have expanded, and it enhances expansion of international trade. So now going to the last one, that is economic freedom. So a capitalist economy is founded on freedom. So the restrictions by the government are kept to minimum. So there is freedom to consumers and producers and freedom to save and invest. So it constitutes the backbone of the capitalist economy. So thus the economic freedom is the most important feature of capitalism also. So now going to some demerits. So, capitalistic economies have experienced higher incomes, more output, higher efficiency, technological products, new consumers products, higher standards of living, and more economic freedom. But capitalistic economic system is not free from some defects. So, the first one is inequalities of income and wealth. So the major defects of the capitalist economy is that it has led to large disparities, large inequalities in the distribution of income and wealth. So now going to the second one, that is the class struggle. So, capitalist economy has led to class struggle among various groups, particularly between the capitalists and the workers. So, class struggle is a direct consequences of inequalities in the capitalist economy, and there is constant hostility, struggle, animosity between these two groups in the form of strikes, lockouts, bond, etc. So, this adversely affects the functioning of the capitalistic economy. So now going to the third one, that is economic stability. So it is one of the important demerits of capitalist economy also. Such instability arises because there is no coordinating agency. The whole system is uncoordinated and unplanned. So that's why instability arises, and there is also there is always the possibility of the overproduction or underproduction, booms and depression, so inflation, unemployment. So these economic fluctuations can cause a lot of human misery and suffering. So there is economic instability. So now going to the fourth one, that is misallocation of resources. The capitalistic economic system has led to misallocation of resources. In this economy, rich people have more purchasing power, so therefore productive resources are used for the production of luxurious and the comforts rather than the necessities. So because producers earn more profits from the production of the luxurious products, so that's why the production of the necessities is neglected. So resources are misallocated. So now going to the fifth one, that is waste of capitalist production. So, the capitalist economic system is responsible for various types of waste. The first one is some of the techniques of production are discarded because of their discovery of the new and better type of techniques and pressure of competition. And sometimes producers go in for excessive advertisement in order to push up their sales. So, it leads to increase the cost of production and the burden of which falls on the consumers. So now going to the third one. So consumers also discarded many consumer goods like cars when new models are manufactured because of status symbols. So that's why there is waste of capitalist production. Going to the sixth one, that is emergence of monopoly power. So it is one of the important demerits of the capitalistic economic system. A few giant firms control production in most of the industries. So monopolist firms are exploiting the consumers by charging higher prices and by restricting output also. So they are also responsible for the maldistribution of the productive resources and concentration of economic and political power. So now going to the seventh one, that is neglect of social welfare. In a capitalist economy, the production is undertaken to maximize their private profit. So therefore, the goal of maximization of social welfare is totally neglected. So, last but not the least, that is the domination of the economic values. So, capitalist economic system has promoted materialism, so it has given more emphasis on the values and monetary values and self-interest, and earning money has become the main purpose of life. And in fact, a man's worth and his success in life is judged by his only the economic success, and this has resulted in the subordination of the human, social, moral, religious, cultural values. So, in fact, overemphasis on the monetary values led to numerous personal and family problems such as disruption of the family life, increased divorces, suicides, and more worries. So, I think the merits, functions, uh, demerits, and the definition are clear to everyone. So, we are done for the today's session. We have discussed the features of capitalistic economy, the characteristics of developed and developing economies, uh, capitalistic economies, merits and demerits. So I hope it will be very helpful to everyone. So I will come again with an exciting session for all. Till then, stay tuned and please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can press bell button for getting new notification from my side. Happy learning. Thank you.